Today's podcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy and data today by going to expressvpn.com/inside.
Welcome to the Inside Gaming Podcast. My name is Evan Campbell at Darth Burrito on Twitter. Usually Brian Garza host. He is out on assignment, having a vacation today, or wherever he's doing, beating Battletoads again.
They sent him out to dig up dirt on his family this week.
I'm joined today by our illustrious co-host. Caden Jensen is here. What's up, Caden? How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Just Brian's gone and the
Look, you know, the old man is gone. We can start doing some actual good memes and start enjoying ourselves a little bit. Why not?
We've also got Connor McGrath, as seen on Inside Gaming Daily. Connor, what's up?
Hi.
The Connor.
From Inside Gaming Daily.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Yeah, I moved some things around.
And
yeah.
It gives me a pleasure and an honor. It's a privilege. We have a special guest, Mike Williams, formerly of GameIndustries.biz, formerly of US Gamer, recently moved to PC Mag. Mike, I'm such a fan of your content, particularly your Twitter. We'll get into it. But how are you doing? How's the new console launch season been treating you?
Well, hello, folks. And the new console launch season has been treating me fantastic. I had an issue with my Series X, but I sent it back to Microsoft and they sent me a new one, and now everything is beautiful.
Wow.
What was the issue?
So it was weird with an HDMI port out of the system. It would basically flicker to black like every 30 seconds. It wasn't the cable and it wasn't the TV. I was trying all the different ports. It's just something with the system. So I basically just contacted Microsoft support, sent my old system. I was very sad because I made the mistake of buying physical. I bought Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I was in the system, and I forgot it. So like the one disc I've purchased in like 2 years was in the system that I sent to Microsoft and never came back. So I had to buy it again.
No.
So never physical ever again.
I'm already way on board that train.
Some engineer at Microsoft is super pumped right now. They were
it feels like
I just have a steel book.
I mean, that's really all physical is
With
worth
no
anyway,
disc.
right? Just having something you can put on your shelf.
Yeah.
He just
it
loves
feels
the
like
license.
Sega owes you a replacement at this point. It's like, come on.
This is what I'm saying. Help me out, Sega.
All right, well, we've got
Sega, we know you're watching. We know you're big fans of Inside Gaming.
Mr. the
Sega.
Hedgehog, excuse you.
I'd like to talk to Dr. Monkey Ball.
I would too, actually. I've got this thing.
Yeah,
Need to...
Oh no.
I had a cyst.
See, again, Brian's gone. We're already off the rails.
All right, let me ring it back in here. We've got a ton of news to talk about. More recently, and like largely on my mind right now, is all of the Smash drama that's going on currently. Nintendo recently sent a cease and desist letter to the Big House, which is an organization that runs a annual Smash event, which is usually pretty large. But because of these times we're facing in a COVID-19 era, people have moved to playing Melee Online, which requires a mod called Slippi. And this is the primary issue that Nintendo took. The tournament organizers were going to use Slippi so players and pros could play online against each other and they could practice, social distancing and all of that. Nintendo said, no, you may not. It's done. And it's really kind of brought all of the tension between the competitive Smash community and Nintendo to a real head. The Smash community obviously is not happy because for them, this is almost like they're trying to kill Melee, and it's entirely a physical game, which you cannot play online for the most part. I think that about covers it. Did I miss anything?
No, that pretty much covers the bases. I mean, this is par for the course for Nintendo, though. It's like, you're messing with our IP, our system, our code, our games. Don't do it, period. The end. They've never been very lenient with this stuff at all. Even in like parody, they're just like, no. Nintendo is the company that bought the porn parodies of Super Mario Brothers so that they could never be actually released. So that's the company we're dealing with here.
Also, you talk about killing Melee. Of course, Nintendo wants to kill Melee. Sakurai did everything he could to make sure that Ultimate is what you need. Please stop playing Melee.
Yeah, there was a couple of developments with that story. I'm not sure how, we probably didn't get into too much detail on the daily story we ran about it, but basically there was a twit longer that detailed like the last probably 10 years of back and forth with the Smash community and Nintendo. It's the big issue that the community is having is it's not only that Nintendo sent a cease and desist, they stopped the big house, which had to cancel both Melee and Ultimate events, or was their choice to also cancel Ultimate, but because Nintendo isn't just turning the other way or trying to stop Smash entirely, it's that they've actively been allowing Smash events and competitive Smash events to be these kind of hubs for marketing. Some of these tournaments will get like the go ahead by Nintendo, but of course there's stipulations in which they have to run Nintendo ads and that sort of thing. Or Nintendo will come in and put kiosks and booths at a tournament for upcoming Nintendo products. All the while not putting any money directly into the competitive scene, all the while not really acknowledging the competitive scene, except for when they need like big Smash influencers for an E3 for a new Smash game that's about to release. So yeah, the issue really is that from the beginning, Nintendo has kind of had almost an insidious kind of role, and whether that comes from like a lack of understanding about esports and the competitive scene, which I don't think it is, or like kind of negligence, or from like a bureaucratic side. This is the way it looks, right? It looks pretty insidious that they would continue to use, the Smash community, grassroots growth to promote their products, but then also at the same time, not really do much to support them at the same time. So there's been, if you look at that twit longer, which was posted by an anonymous Twitter user, which got a lot of traction with a lot of the pros, Armada, Mango, HBox, Hugs, all of them retweeting this and sharing. Basically that there's been a lot of talks with different large companies like Twitch and Red Bull, ESL, which is a big esports production organization, to run like a Smash circuit for Ultimate and for Melee, and potentially Smash 4 at the time was the big one, which and these companies have offered to front like $1 million, millions of dollars to run something like this, because believe it or not, Super Smash Bros. Melee and Ultimate combined like dwarf a lot of the FGC in terms of their engagement and views and that sort of thing. I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm sorry. I know a lot about this topic. I can get lost in the weeds. Does anybody have any questions or feelings about kind of the revelations of this stuff? For some of this, I knew working in esports. Some of this I kind of knew was behind the scenes, and a lot of pro players I think are kind of finding out for the first time. But yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, this is Nintendo. This is Nintendo at their worst. This is the stuff that they do pretty much all the time. And seeing them treat the Smash community like this, it pretty much is exactly how they, treated content creators at large years ago. And slowly they've started to change, but it's never been like at the forefront of their mind. They want to control all the marketing. They want to control all the messaging. They want to control their own product. It started with that whole whitelisting situation with YouTube and any kind of content creation. You had to be approved by Nintendo to make Nintendo content on your channel, and only these types of games. And when they removed a game, you needed to stop making content for it. And when they added a game, then you could do it. But the moment it wasn't on that list, you had to not do it. And if you did make content with anything that wasn't on that list, you lost your privileges with Nintendo. End of story. And that's just how they did things. And that's just because they can. And to a degree, yeah, it's a big business. They have the ability to control their IP, and they're going to, regardless of it being Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony or, any big company. They want to own that. Disney's like that too. If you start doing, Disney stopped people from putting Spider-Man on cakes because Spider-Man's our property. No. So it's pretty much par for the course. And especially with Nintendo, Nintendo of America understands content creators to a degree, but Nintendo is a Japanese company. And as far as Nintendo of Japan is concerned, and I've talked to representatives from both NOA and Nintendo of Japan and YouTube over the course of all of this nonsense, and Nintendo of America is willing to play ball to a degree. But their mega corporation home where everything, lives and breathes, who have the final say on everything, they don't feel the necessary need to. They don't really have any reason to do that, so they don't. So when things like this happen and it's a manipulation of an IP with a mod or with external hardware or anything, Nintendo just slaps a big no on it and walks away because they can.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of the part and parcel of being Nintendo. Like everyone's always like, Nintendo is focused on the games and just the games. They don't worry about online or microtransactions or any of that. This is the other side of that. They don't focus on additional marketing. They don't focus on any other opportunities. And they would actually, seemingly, as far as we can tell, would prefer not to be involved with any of that at all, which sometimes works out in their favor. Like over the summer, some of the unfortunateness around the Smash community.
Absolutely.
Like, Nintendo was just able to be like,
not us.
They didn't.
Yeah.
Whereas Capcom, who is more involved in their tournament scene, had to specifically take pains to say, no, we're not involved with that person, and that person will not be involved with our events moving forward. Nintendo just stayed quiet and everything was good for them. So I think that's part of just Nintendo being Nintendo and Nintendo not wanting to be involved or liable for anything that might happen. It's just easier for them, especially Nintendo Japan, which is a very conservative organization, does not particularly want to like extra stuff.
This is not my wheelhouse, as may be evident by the fact that I haven't said anything. But I guess this, Nintendo's unyielding control of its IP, be it the do you think this benefits them, or does this just feel petty? Like long term, like what's the ramifications for this? Does this lead into their complete and total control of their IP, resulting in better games, or is this just hurting them?
So they absolutely have nothing to lose here or to gain. I feel like it's really, that's I think what hurts the most about it. It's really perplexing. They didn't have to come out and do this. I think legally, what you're referring to, Connor, is if they don't stop Slippi now, what's to stop other people from making rollback netcode for other old Nintendo games, right? And then they'll have a real problem on their hands.
Let me just say, I think this sucks.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Like, unequivocally,
I think we're all in
sucks.
agreement that an event that was supposed to bring people together in a time where we're all very much apart would have been great. And Nintendo saying no.
Yes. And I think
Nintendo saying no is just like, it's kind of like, look, you could have looked the other way just this once.
Sure.
But in a legal sense, no, it doesn't make any sense for them to say yes to this. Because the moment they say yes, or even not say no, especially in this sense, it gives legal precedent to anybody moving forward to look back on this particular instance to be like, well, you didn't give them any trouble. What's so special about this? It's not very different, or it's actually the exact same. So it gives that legal loophole for a judge to come in and be basically like, no, Nintendo's wrong. You're correct. So there you go. Nintendo, you need to pay them whatever, or you need to let them be able to do whatever they want. And then that just opens the floodgates. So if anything, Nintendo has everything to gain from squashing this immediately, and nothing to lose from doing so.
I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Because does it hurt them? Well, like Smash on Wii U sold like 5 million. Smash on 3DS sold like 9 million. Smash on Switch sold 21 million.
Yeah.
So that's a strong growth. And they've been this way for pretty much the entire time that online has been a thing, that the Smash tournament scene has been a thing. And the game keeps growing, so it's not hurting them at all.
Yeah, and so I think what's interesting is that scene has grown a lot. Melee is generally thought of as like the foundation of competitive Smash in terms of opening those doors up, and they've just grown so much. I mean, like Mango has over
the birth of wave dashing.
Yeah, Mango, one of the 5 gods of Melee, has over like 200,000 Twitch subscribers. Right, like people have made a very good living off of playing this game. They devoted a lot, and a lot of these fans that are also playing Melee and watching Melee, they're not just Smash fans. They are Nintendo fans, and they're buying other Nintendo products. And now you have a large section of them, and a large amount of them with very large followings. Any of the top pros like Armada, who I mentioned before, or Hungry Box, for example, that have these huge, large followings and can motivate them. There's also Twitch streamer Ludwig, I think, is like committed to now hosting Melee tournaments using Slippi for charity. And if he gets cease and desisted, he said he's going to do one every month. You know, every time he gets cease and desisted, he's just going to do another one. And he's raised like $40,000 for charity. So for Nintendo, it could turn into like a big PR mess, because in 2013, they tried to shut down Evo. They tried to shut down Melee at Evo. The community came together then. They raised a bunch of money for charity. So if Nintendo shut them down, they'd have to say, like, look at all this money Nintendo just deprived like orphan children, or, you know, this like hospital fund or whatever. That's bad PR for them. I think, Mike, you made an excellent point about Nintendo being able to step back. I just wanted to revisit that for a second, because in a scenario where Nintendo had their own circuit, their own league with rules, something like, you look at Riot Games, you look at League of Legends, you look at, you know, Capcom, like you said, Namco, like you said, Mortal Kombat even is not as popular of a game as Smash by any means, but has the largest prize pools, and they have, you know, codes of conduct. They have these rules and enforcements that can help clean up the space, that could really help the community in that way, and guidelines and things. But without Nintendo's guiding hand, none of that stuff can really exist. It all has to be self-policed. And like, you're basically just trusting tournament organizers, just normal people, to make decisions about like ethical choices and like rules and regulations, which I think they've been doing an okay job at it. But we often just see I mean, I should preface that by saying, like, it's not that great of a job, because all the stories we hear are about like, it's like, it's toxic over there. There's just a lot of harassment. Mike, you mentioned it before. You know, the equivalent of like a Me Too movement has happened over the summer for Smash, and a lot of influential and known players, you know, were involved and have been removed. And that stuff. Yeah.
The thing is like, that's the thing is you bring up like just this past, you know, couple months, but the Smash like community is like, they go through this every single year. Every single year. It has happened every single year. If you're a part of it and you're just like, I just like watching competitive Smash, I like enjoying that content, I like watching it, and I like practicing it, that's great, that's fantastic. But every year you go through this little bit of just like, all right, I'm not with them. It's like,
right.
Because it's been constant. I mean, you know, there's been story after story after story, and it kind of means that, you know, they do need a guiding hand. They do need a guiding hand, because there is no real regulations to any of it. And the only company that could give them any kind of regulations is Nintendo. And they don't want to play ball, and they don't have to.
Yeah, and
it does hurt the players, and it hurts the community, but it doesn't hurt Nintendo, so they don't care.
And they're also like actively, you know, keeping other companies from providing that type of support or organization to, like we mentioned with Red Bull and Twitch. I could talk about this forever. Unfortunately, we do have a podcast here with a lot of other news stories we have to get through. I'm so sorry, Connor.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm happy to listen. I enjoy all facets of gaming.
You jumped into the fire on this one. Let's move on to the Cyberpunk 2077 leak, which happened, you know, our two favorites. I guess I could say favorite, but two individuals online got an early copy of the game, and we're streaming.
Big doofus.
Yes, I think a lot of references to like Beavis and Butthead, and I guess like, I mean, maybe Bill and Ted or something. Maybe no one's making that reference, just me. Playing Cyberpunk 2077 on a stream.
Bill and Ted are wholesome. Beavis and Butthead, I definitely go with for these two guys.
They streamed Cyberpunk 2077 early, like, and this thing is out there.
Yeah. See, I like it's termed a leak, like in most of the stories, but really this is the kind of thing that used to happen like back in the day, where you could just go to like a store, and if they didn't know, you could just pick up the game early. Because I tried to do that with Demon Souls.
Yeah, it's in the back.
Like, I went over to my Target, and it was like 3 days before the PS5 was supposed to launch, and they had Demon Souls. Like, I saw it right there, and I was like, hey, can I just buy that? And the guy was like, yeah, sure. And he took it to the register and rang it, and then it was like, oh no, I'm sorry, man, it's got a street date. And I was like, oh, like back in the day, you could go to a mom and pop shop, and they'd have a copy.
I love you could get it. Victories. I got Overwatch on sale at Best Buy because they mislabeled the price. It was just like, I took it to the front and they rang it up, and it was like the legendary price, so like either $40 or $60, and they were like, all right, that'll be that much. I'm like, no, it said 20, and they were like, it doesn't say 20. I was like,
Yeah.
would you like to go check it? And we went downstairs, and they were like, it was and then they got the supervisor, and she was like, it's not supposed to be like that. And then I was like, but I do get it for that, right? And they were like,
yeah, it's technically
yeah,
true.
you do.
You technically
and I
do.
was like, cool, yes. And I barely played it. I'm not really an Overwatch person.
Did anybody else get a game early, like in a mom and pop store? I got Kingdom Hearts 2 about a week early.
Wow.
It was awesome.
I've never
Mike, have
gotten
you?
anything early.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple games. Also, plus I worked at both GameStop
Sure.
and like a mom and pop GameStop equivalent before that. So it was kind of one of those, just like, oh, we got the game. Let's just take this. Let's take it home. And just don't talk about it. And we'll bring it up on the day of. Just don't forget.
Oh,
Look,
man.
I feel like anybody who's worked at a game store, myself included, has either really, really thought about it or actually done it. And it's because like, it's like so long as you disconnect the Xbox 360 from online, pop the disc in. It's like,
Yeah.
it's fine. No,
Yeah, I mean, I work
Like
at a
GameStop,
Panera
not
now.
so much. But
Yeah.
the previous store that was smaller all the time.
My brother was working at GameStop during the last holiday, and part of me was like, can you hook me up? Can you grab me some stuff?
Can you hook me up with a couple leaked early access Funko Pops?
I mean, if you build a pretty good relationship with your local mom and pop, I think that's a pretty common practice where like those solid customers, they usually like give you the nod, like, hey, yeah, go ahead. But you know, other than that, I think I don't know. Does this affect anything? I don't know. This leak didn't seem to be, you know, as controversial as Last of Us 2 or whatever. I think it's just.
As I understand, also the gameplay they showed was super boring, because what
Yeah.
sets this apart from getting a game early in the past is that you can immediately title on yourself to the whole games press and
Right.
subsequently the developer of the game and probably the retailer. They said they got it. They were a friend of the son of the guy who made it, which is just like
Totally.
big brain. I don't know. I mean, why the game was supposed to be out? I'm assuming that retail copies were ready to go, right, for the 19th, maybe.
Yeah, and these were
They probably
PS4
already
copies.
started shipping
we should
them.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PS4 copies. They were streaming straight from a PS4.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, like all the stories are like it's a leak. I'm like, no, I mean they just got an early copy and they started playing it. You don't want to know about the game. Don't watch their stream.
their
Yeah.
gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a testament
Well, they're
to
my favorite
how,
Let's Players, so
Yeah, and then it's a testament to how long that game actually is, because you're just getting a small cross section, and they didn't happen to stumble across any like major story spoilers or anything, I guess, or maybe they're in there. I didn't watch it. 'cause I
Also,
don't
we
wanna-
totally
know
different than-
so much about this game already. CD Projekt Red is just like, here's like 90% of what you can expect from this game. We're
Yeah.
gonna keep 10% secret. So it's like, what did we gain from this? What did anybody really gain from this
there's
game?
been no
like,
shortage of
leaking?
materials ahead of this.
Yeah, it
like-
did get delayed 3 times.
Yeah, there's
true.
and they're constantly releasing content. It's like there's like a whole season of television made up of Cyberpunk previews. So why do we need two doofuses?
Yeah, I think that's kind of why Cyberpunk's again leak, really just a couple of guys got it early. It's really nothing because we know so much about it, and this little snippet was just, it was really, we didn't learn anything from this that we didn't already know before, versus something like The Last of Us 2 getting like, it's like we knew not a whole heck of a lot. They were playing very close to the chest with that information. So that flipped the script a bit. So weighing the two together is like, everybody's just like, everybody who wants Cyberpunk is going to get Cyberpunk. It doesn't matter if this got leaked early or any of that first bit, whatever, it doesn't matter. But Last of Us 2 was, everybody was holding their breath for that.
Well, I would say we did learn a little something, which is
Oh.
that Cyberpunk actually plays on a PS4, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the big
I mean,
issue they were
true.
having, was optimizing this game for last gen hardware?
It's a great point.
Part of it works. This game is
I mean, there you
playable
go.
on the
It is.
PlayStation 4.
But we don't know if it's a pro or a base one. We don't know that. So
I mean,
It's gotta
either
be.
way.
It's gotta be a pro because like I don't know how anybody who's listening, watching, whatever. If you are still on a base PS4, Xbox One, sorry.
I'm on a base PS4.
Oh,
My base PS4
Yeah.
is a media machine, and my base Xbox Ones, which are launch, by the way, they are propping up a TV.
Well, my base PS4, I barely use it anymore. And by the time I considered getting a Pro, I instead switched gears to building a PC.
Right.
And all I wanted to do was sunset that thing. And then I had The Last of Us 2, and I was like, all right, let's pull it out and blow off the dust. I actually pulled out my controller from under my desk, and it was so covered in like dust and hair and shit. And I posted a picture of it, and a friend of mine, a mutual who works at Twitter Gaming, was like, we got to hook you up with something else. So they sent me another controller. But that's how little I used it. And then Ghost of Tsushima came out, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, please don't post another picture of this ever again.
It was pretty grody.
One.
Yeah. All right, moving on. There is rumors and hints that, or Jim Ryan directly has been saying out there in interviews that Sony is working on a new service or something like a new service. Whenever he's asked about Game Pass, Sony Entertainment president, I think he's president, CEO. Let's just go with that. Yeah, CEO. Sorry. Is working on Game Pass, a PlayStation Pass, I guess, a PS5 Pass, whatever you want to call it. He's basically just said, hey, we've got news on something coming up, and that's what I guess we're all assuming it is. Did you guys see this story?
Yeah,
I did. The weird thing about Sony is that they're already, so like PlayStation Now was Gaikai, so like cloud streaming, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
And then it became PlayStation Now, and it's always been there. And then they also just added the PS Plus collection, so it feels like they're somewhat there in two different directions. They just need to bring it together. And I don't know, like it's like for Microsoft, like Game Pass is what they want, like period. Like they just want you on Game Pass. Phil Spencer also in a recent interview said like, yeah, I mean, we'll eventually probably do an Xbox app that you can just like load up on PC and play Game Pass and all that other stuff, you know. So you don't even like need the Series X or the Xbox One or whatever.
Don't they?
But Sony does need it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
right now,
Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass on PC is download.
Sort of.
It's not streaming. Streaming is just on
I didn't realize
mobile
you were talking
now.
about streaming specifically.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the whole Game Pass suite for Microsoft is the point. For Sony, they still need hardware. Like their hardware division, PlayStation, is one of their best performing divisions. They're like, we need to keep selling games, and we need to keep selling systems. Whereas like Microsoft doesn't care. So I feel like Sony has the option. They just have been avoiding it as much as opposed to leaning in.
Yeah, as much as everybody talks about how, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are like the big three, realistically, Microsoft dwarfs both of those other two companies absolutely, just like entirely. Microsoft is so huge that they don't need to worry about a lot of this stuff. And, to your point, this is like, as soon as they like add in, a proper streaming service for, PC or even like a Fire Stick type thing where you just plug it into your TV. If they had something like that, I guarantee you a lot of people would trust Microsoft with it over something like Google Stadia or Amazon Luna because, Microsoft has the infrastructure for it. They also have, the clout for it. They're a gaming company. They work with PCs, they work with consoles. They've done all this stuff before.
Yep.
And while Game Pass for PC is it's okay. I mean, I use it. It's fun. It
sucks. It sucks. It's blue screened my PC on multiple occasions. The download speeds are terrible.
That's funny because I
saves
downloaded,
don't sync sometimes across all devices.
I had no issue downloading Master Chief Collection yesterday, real fast, and no
of course,
blue screen.
You know who makes that? Microsoft. Huh?
Fair. That's fair.
I'm gonna get really big
wrong.
brain about this.
But Mike, to your point, it's like, Sony's been trying to do this kind of, sort of, maybe for a while, but they did PlayStation Now, and they had this whole service, and everybody's just like, why do I want to stream it? It's really laggy, and I don't like it. But that was way at the beginning of the PlayStation, PlayStation 4 era. And it's just existed. It wasn't the best. It just existed. And now that we're in a place where, oh, this might actually be a viable, thing, they still have that infrastructure already in place. So they just need to take the time and devote it to it, especially with better hardware that exists with the PlayStation 5. But and I'm going to slide this in there. Nintendo's also been doing this for a while, but not in the States. They've been they've had the access to stream games to the Switch for a while, including Resident Evil 7, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Phantasy Star Online 2, and all of those were Control. You could do all those things on the Switch, and you could play all those games on the Switch, and they were streamed to your Switch, but just not in the States because the States has crappy internet.
Yeah, and Microsoft has Azure service. Like they have an entire cloud division of the company that is.
Yep.
And so they have the infrastructure to just be like, let's just throw stuff at it to make it a thing.
Yeah. I just want to add one thing, and then I'll throw it to y'all and we can move on. But, Game Pass, I feel like is a response to PlayStation Plus in some ways. And obviously there's some higher level thinking there. But PlayStation Plus, where we were getting free PlayStation games forever before Microsoft even, had an inkling to do something similar with their Xbox Live subscription and Xbox Gold, that came from the PS3 being down and them needing features to add to the PS4 and the new generation. That came with and also them saying hey, we can provide just as good of an online experience as Xbox Live, which was predominantly favored on Xbox 360 at the time when it was the PS3 era. So when they moved into the PS4 gen, they're like, here's this new service. You're going to get free games online as long as you stay subscribed. So they're no stranger to coming up with something in that realm that works. So it'll be super interesting to see, whatever this is. What if it's not a new service at all, though? What if it's a Vita 2?
Interesting.
I'm just hoping. I'm praying and hoping.
It's software.
A Vita 2, huh?
Just throwing that in there.
You only have it in PSVR, though.
Yeah.
What?
I'd love a Vita 2. I mean, look at Nintendo. Nintendo's making money hand over hand.
Yeah.
And the Switch is essentially a port. You can plug it
is.
into your TV. But at least me personally, I don't. So
I never
play
it handheld.
Oh my
I only
God.
play it docked.
Oh,
I actually, I'm probably
I hate Joy-Cons. I'm sorry, I'm such a force of negativity on this show today, but I just can't. I can't with the Joy-Cons.
I'm a 50-50 user. It depends on the game for me. There's some things that I've just
You have
I
one
want to play
docked
with
and one free.
You know what's funny? I do have two Switches, but yeah. So currently one is right here undocked and the other one is completely docked. But there's certain games everybody loved playing Breath of the Wild undocked, and I'm just like, how? Why? Why would you do that to yourself? But things like Pokemon, I played that undocked because it's I'm so used to playing it in handheld that I was just no, this is a natural thing for me to just play that in handheld. Animal Crossing was all handheld for me too.
I can do strategy games Into the Breach is great handheld.
Agreed.
So Sony, Vita 2.
Vita 2.
Make it happen. Let me Uncharted on the go.
Do they if they make a Game Pass? Let's say that what they're making is just a direct Game Pass competitor. How do they compete? With that library, they would.
I don't know. I feel like they'd have a lot to they'd have a lot to lose in comparison to Microsoft in this, because Microsoft's do they really lean into Halo that much? Do they really lean to Gears that much? They do, but not as much as say Sony does Ghost of Tsushima or Spider-Man or anything like that. So, Sony's profitability leans on those IPs like God of War, where Microsoft's just play it on whatever. We don't give a shit.
Right. But it couldn't just be first party, because that would also go directly against the PS Plus collection, which is coming. So that doesn't seem like what they would do. But also Sony is not really a company that's built success as of late on third party cooperation. So that's where I'm wondering. I'm what's up? What's up?
I think they need to do some major acquisitions like Microsoft's been doing, where they're just we eat you and get all of your backlog. We take this. And they'd need to do something like that to be able to have that competition there.
The-
Otherwise, it's just, again, God of War, Uncharted, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, also the big benefit of Sony and the PlayStation brand as a whole is, other than Nintendo, like, you're not playing Nintendo platform. If you want a high-end gaming experience and you want Japanese games, you're only getting them through Sony. Microsoft has gotten a little bit better, like with deals with Sega and stuff. But for the most part, like, if you like Japanese games, you're getting a PlayStation or you're getting a Switch. That's like, Xbox is really not your place. So maybe some deals on that side might help them.
I will say, though, they just added Final Fantasy VIII Remastered to Game Pass. And I'm just like, okay, all right, I'll play Final Fantasy VIII again for the 1000th time. I mean, it's there. I have Game Pass. Why wouldn't I? And Microsoft has been doing better. They have the entirety of Kingdom Hearts available on Game Pass. So, and Final Fantasy, their Final Fantasy 15 was on there for a while. There's a bunch of stuff. Their Game Pass offerings are very much, to Connor's point, dependent on those third parties. And Sony's been kind of not leaning into that as much as they probably should have to have those benefits.
Yeah, I feel like whatever they do, it is going to be a little bit of a competition, but at the end of the day, it does come down to games. It comes down to like what you can play on it and what you're getting out of that, whatever the monthly subscription is. What games are you getting? And maybe they rotate through that just all-star lineup of exclusives that they have and say like, yeah, this week it's Last of Us 2, next week or next month it's going to be, Spider-Man Miles Morales or whatever. I think that would be a good way to go about it. I think we should tackle one more story and then move on to questions. I think that there's two things I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to slide one in real quick. There was a big interview with Phil Spencer on The Verge. He talked a lot about basically like fanboyism, I guess, or he talked a little bit about how displeased he is, where people want one console to succeed and one console to fail, which is what it is. It's the world we live in for the last year, especially coming up into new launch consoles. But he also talked about being a little bit or lamenting at least how launches have gone, and even like he mentioned that Jim Ryan also was lamenting how this launch has gone for PS5 and the new Xboxes, which I think we can just really talk about briefly, I guess, if anybody has any thoughts. And the idea, I guess, in that interview, if you didn't read it, go and read it. It's on The Verge. It's really good. It's like a really good expose. The main idea there, I think, is that he was saying that they were going to start thinking about ways to make that process better, ways to either provide it themselves. Microsoft would be selling you Xboxes more directly, or creating a system for retailers in which it's more of like, he didn't say this exactly, but one suggestion was from the interviewer was like, I just wish I could put my money down, and then if my console's ready in February, I just get it in February. And they kind of had a laugh about it, right? Just like queue me up, and when it's ready, and that sort of thing. So I think that'd be super cool if it sounds like Microsoft is getting in the headspace of like, how do we make these launches better? How do we get people this Xbox instead of getting like 3,000 of them just bought up by bots or whatever?
I'd say that, like, at least for me, trying to pick up the new consoles on Target and stuff, it's been a mess. And even now I wanted to buy a 3070, but you can't find them. And it is a mess. And I would like a system where I could just give them the money, and whenever the console is done, whenever the video card is done, it comes to me. And I don't know why companies haven't moved in that direction.
Yeah, it's been super unfortunate. I think that's really well said and probably capsulizes that whole conversation, Mike. Thank you for being so succinct. The last thing I wanted to talk about, Mike, specifically because you're here and you review video games for a living. We also do some reviews, but not to the extent that another major platform would, or a major game site with like an actual like section for writing. We're just a YouTube channel, right?
Okay, don't put us down like that. Jesus Christ!
No, throw everybody here under the bus. We don't care. That's
sure.
fine.
I mean,
we're
look. I'm going to be honest. I
YouTube
spend a lot more
channel.
time reading game reviews than watching them. It's just much faster. I don't know. And then obviously Metacritic and all that. But
I spend a lot more time. It's faster.
this has been the longest lead up to a story of all time. It's going to be my signature MO. But Last of Us 2 took 6 Golden Joystick Awards, including Game of the Year. is this what we're going to see come December, right? We're just
I hope not.
getting thrown into award season. Is Last of Us 2 just poised to take everything? It's not my game of the year, but
I honestly think the one that's gonna hit like Disco Elysium did last year is Hades.
Yes.
I think Last of Us 2 got more award nominations overall, but I think Hades is probably going to be the big winner across most of the awards, if I had to guess.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Last of Us
100%
2
agree.
is like Last of Us 2 is like the game's equivalent of Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's the movie equivalent of Oscar bait. The game's a movie, and I like that game a lot. I would be happy to see it take home some stuff. I think that like I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent. I think it's too long, but I think it's a great game. I like Hades too.
This kind of brings something up too, and I really feel like it's worth putting out there. Whatever the biggest name or IP that comes out closest to the end of the year will more than likely take it. Had Cyberpunk not been delayed, Last of Us 2 would have been dethroned. But because nothing really big like that came out, Last of Us 2 will take it. It's the same thing that happened. Everybody loved so many games that came out the year that Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, but Red Dead Redemption 2 came out.
God of War got Game of the Year.
But the thing is there were so many in a lot of circles, you saw Red Dead sweep the awards in a lot of different categories. But I'd be remiss not to mention this. At the same time as The Last of Us getting best storytelling, best visual design, best audio, and so on and so forth, Studio of the Year went to Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Studio of the Year went to Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's not
with
great.
all of the crunch and all of the stuff behind everything. Studio of the Year?
Yeah, there was a harassment allegation this year that just went unanswered there too, I think. I mean, I don't know. How much can you talk about stuff that like there's only so many limited knowledge about? But yeah, I think Naughty Dog is Studio of the Year. I guess in terms of achieving technical prowess makes a lot of sense.
They released a very good game that a lot of people liked. I'm not necessarily certain that denotes Studio of the Year. I think Studio of the Year, at least as far as something that we look at as an industry, moves the industry forward, helps the industry grow, teaches the industry a lesson, and helps them be better. I don't think that Naughty Dog necessarily did that this year.
Mike, as someone who's so familiar with reviews, what's your take on something as overarching in general as a industry-wide award show? Like, how effective can that be?
Industry-wide award show, and I'll throw in the game of the year discussions at different sites, because what always happens every year is, of course, like you create a game of the year award in various categories at different sites, but not everyone has a chance to play every game. So, like last year at US Gamer, I put my foot down very hard for Disco Elysium, but not everyone at the site had played it. Mm-hmm. And it could have very well been like a game. Crusader Kings 3 is probably going to be one of those.
Ooh, yeah.
This year. More people have played it, but for the most part, like a Crusader Kings is not a game that if you have a polygon and maybe 20 to 30 staffers, maybe like 3 or so people have played Crusader Kings. So it's very hard to...
Sure.
And so what you end up doing is you're like, what are the strategy games that came out this year? Oh, Crusader Kings, that's a good one. Is anyone going to fight for this game specifically? And if no one's played the game at all, then it just sort of falls by the wayside, even if it necessarily could deserve the award. So like there's stuff like that, like you say on new online multiplayer game, Phasmophobia, Fall Guys, all that stuff is going to be on the top of the list, and that's going to be the stuff that people gravitate to. And that's the same is true with the awards. It's just like, what are the ones that we've actually played?
Right.
I think that happened big time with the original release of Demon's Souls. Like a lot of critics knew that this storm was coming. Like I mean, even playing it back in the day, I was like, this is going to affect video games and the way video games are made for a long time. It's such a fresh, like a breath of fresh air and a new take kind of. And what you're saying, Mike, there was like, I remember at the GT offices, there was like even half the staff was like, no, this game is incredible, should be our game of the year. And I think like if you have somebody at the top, like in a, like an EIC or something, or director of content, who's just like, but our audience is not gonna, I don't know if that ever comes into play. It shouldn't. But if it's like,
it usually doesn't, because we'll fight pretty hard in game of the year discussions, like for the games. But like a good example would be, let's say you're deciding on sports game of the year. A lot of people will probably play the Maddens. A lot of people will probably play the FIFAs, but maybe the best sports game, technically, again, this is all subjective, is like Ride 4. But no one played Ride 4 except for the people that love
it.
Ride.
Right.
So that's one of those games that was probably good or great. I don't know. Again, I didn't play it, and probably could have stood up there, but it's not Madden or FIFA. No one actually got to play it. And those are the kinds of problems that tend to happen in Game of the Year discussions and award season.
Yeah.
And that filters outside of just the sites, but also to the fans. And that's part of why you see things like, I believe the Golden Joystick Awards are fan voted.
Yeah, it's a mix. So there's a critics award, which Hades did win, which is interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right.
And so like everyone, like Last of Us 2 sold millions. Everyone played it. So if you get to a category and you're like, what's the best action adventure game? And you're an average person, you're like, oh, the only ones I played were Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Let's give it to Last of Us 2. And that's where your vote goes.
How dare you?
And I think that's such a benefit to these, smaller, not smaller platforms, but I mean smaller than a huge game awards. It's having, even if one person played a game, they can go to bat for it. And I think what Evan, you just said about engagement and what the audience wants, I mean, that's really what we're seeing with having really what seems to be a growing support for an official The Game Awards being just the show, along with the smaller ones, is that this is not so much about gaming as it is about award shows. I mean, we're seeing it with the Grammys. The Weeknd recently, I think yesterday, was posting advocating for transparency, and a lot of these award shows have like a lot of issues with obviously it's different. You can listen to an album in a day. Most games you can't beat in a day, I would say. But I feel like this industry is just starting to, not just starting to, but like we have to reckon with having an official award show in a way we didn't before, where there were more voices.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pomp and circumstance is what it is. It's the show of it all. Because video games are finally at the table with books and music and movies and television, and video games are just like, we want to do it now too. And they're just like, okay, go ahead. And as soon as these things pop up, they're just like, and you hear the fans just like, no, this person got robbed, or this thing got robbed, and everything. And that's the problem with a lot of that, is it's just, that's the award show stuff. That's just how it works. And we're going to hit that again and again. And I mean, it's great because honestly, games now get to have that reach, which is fantastic. It brings people into this, because it brings people into the culture of playing video games more as just, it's like it's finally sunsetting the era of nerds play video games. Everybody plays video games. If you existed in 2020, guess what?
Nerds,
you played a video game.
Nerds do play video games. We're all nerds, and I think we can't forget that.
I mean,
Never
we
forget
are.
where you come
Yes,
from.
but it's one of those things
Everyone who plays
that
video game is a big nerd.
This is video games finally taking up the big step of just like, we are not niche anymore. Despite, being a multi-billion-dollar industry, it was still seen as niche because it had some stigma behind it for whatever reason. Having an award show like this makes it palatable for the general populace. And it's like, oh, I heard this won a very nice award. I think I too will pick up a console to play games on and do things like that. And it's like, that's
marketing.
And for what it's worth, it's good. That's a good thing. More people playing games? Yeah, no, absolutely. Enjoy yourselves. Life is short.
Yeah, we do want the Oscar bump for games. Like, oh, I heard this was like gripping, and like, you know, people picked up Parasite after Parasite won an Oscar.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, I'm gonna go watch
that
it.
or a Moonlight.
And I mean, like, everything is always good. Like, you brought up the weekend with the Grammys. Like, I listened to K-pop. BTS got on the Grammys for Dynamite, which is not their best song this year. It's just the most popular one. It should have been Black Swan. But
agreed. Thank you.
Okay, see, I got other people that know. Yes, no. If you were going to nominate BTS this year, it should have been Black Swan. Dynamite was just the most popular one. But okay, we'll let that slide. But that's the way award shows work. It's what people know, and that's like, you can't draw upon from choosing awards, nominating awards, or picking a game of the year if you haven't played it.
Yeah,
like, that's just the way it is.
And at the end of the day, we're doing objective rankings of subjective art. So
sure. And
I mean, you can only take things so much as far as they can go before you just play it and form your own opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's always the case, even with reviews. No offense, Mike, but you know, your own opinion is always going to be, you know.
Oh my God!
Please, I want people. I want people to know a review is an opinion.
Yes,
it's like, and someone asked me one time on like Resetter, like, what makes you better than me? I was like, nothing. Like, this is just my opinion. I've just been doing it long enough that I can put my opinion on a website and get paid for it. Like,
yeah. To give the Game Awards credit, I think a lot of that stuff, you know, we talked about in the meeting rooms or whatever at different sites, those things can be swayed by somebody who feels very impassioned about a different game. And then when you get two of those people fighting for the same spot, I think interesting things can kind of come from that. That doesn't really happen with the Game Awards. It seems more math oriented, right? It's like a lot of ballots go out to different judges and those come back in and they kind of tabulate them. I'm not sure how much like editorializing goes into, you know, I don't think Jeff is sitting there saying like, okay, this one, that one, that one. I think he's just looking at the numbers and saying, okay, well, this is the winner.
I will say that, Rooster Teeth has had the opportunity in the past to offer our opinions on games. Certain people in the company have been reached out to participate in these things. And it really is, it just boils down to its numbers. You know, what gets the most? And it's pretty simple. I mean, and that's kind of how it works. Not everybody's played every game, but the more widespread you cast the net, the more data you get back, and then more the numbers are changed overall.
Sure.
So you throw a giant net over things is when you get, you know, that indie darling game, like something like Hades, to take Game of the Year versus something like, you know, The Last of Us 2 or Ghost of Tsushima or anything.
Both very well liked games.
You know what?
They're not bad.
No, they're not. They're not bad. But I mean, it's how wide you cast that net. And historically, the net has not been cast very wide. And as we've moved forward, it's actually been a lot more, you know, mindful about people being included in this and hearing a lot more of, you know, everyone's voice in this particular case. And that's where you get those. It's like, look, we know this game sold a lot of copies, but a lot of us had a lot more fun with this game, and we think this one deserves it. And that's where those numbers get counted.
Yeah, like our ballot, I say our, even though US Gamers ballot is technically like Kat is the one filling it out, the editor-in-chief, but we had a Slack channel where she was like, okay, so what am I going to put in this list? And that's how it normally works. And we would fight about stuff. So like action adventure, like last year, I really tried to push for Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Good game. Good game.
Like, yeah, it's a fantastic game, but not a ton of people got to play it.
Yep.
And so that was one of those, like, as we're doing the discussion, because I think it's like top 5 in each category, I was like, come on, give me the 5th spot. Like, give me the 5th spot. And that's how that worked out. And so, yeah, a lot of these come down to like Hades this year was just a very easy, just like in every category. It's like, oh, hey, what's the best indie game? It's Hades. Action game, we're Hades. A lot of that stuff came easy, but sometimes there are those fights where you're like, no, I really believe in this game. Divinity Original Sin 2 back when it came out was one I fought hard for because no one else had played it.
Your taste is impeccable, by the way.
And I was like, but that is the RPG game of the year. And I was like, I will relent on action adventure or another category if you give me this category. That's
all right,
how that worked.
We're calling it right here. Hades is going to sweep the Game Awards, every single category, Game of the Year. That's my pick, at least. Let's move on to listener questions. But first, we've got a word from our sponsor.
Yes. Thank you to Full Sail for sponsoring this. We know you love video games. You're watching this. You're listening to this. You have to love video games. But have you ever considered making them? If so, I want to tell you a little bit about Full Sail University, which offers a variety of gaming degree programs on campus and, of course, because we're here now, online. They can teach you the tools, technology, and workflow used by today's gaming studios. All the big ones and the little ones, everyone in between. You can learn level design, programming, character modeling, production, and more. Graduates from Full Sail have worked on awesome games like, Grand Theft Auto 5, the Call of Duty series, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, a personal favorite of mine, and many, many more. Full Sail has degrees available in game development, design, and art, as well as many, many, many other degrees in the entertainment and media. To learn more about Full Sail's programs, as well as potential scholarship opportunities, visit fullsail.edu/Inside Gaming Presents. That's fullsail.edu/Inside Gaming Presents.
All right, and we're back. Our first question comes in from Bert Dog, who asks, what is your go-to Thanksgiving protein? This is, of course, the day after Thanksgiving. Is it turkey, ham, or other glaze and or dressing on that bad boy? What do you use, if anything, for stuffing? And he said, I assume at Brian Gar uses D's Nuts, which, of course, is his tagline.
Kind of Brian does that all the time, but kind of a burn on Brian.
Yeah, it really is.
No.
Brian is most assuredly probably roasting D's nuts. Oh, Evan.
Oh,
is that you or your kids?
Well, no, I made these, of course, obviously.
That one's Evan's on the left.
Yeah.
Oh,
it looks like Wolverine. See,
that one on the left is like, please kill me. Wow.
And I will oblige.
You guys,
Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
I'm ditching the turkey. I'm ditching tradition in general this year. I got a couple of nice steaks, and that's it.
There you go.
Look,
nice and simple.
Look, just because some old people who are long dead ate turkey at a table back in the day doesn't mean I have to have turkey. Ain't nobody have turkey at any other time during the year. So yes, steak or chicken. Like why? Like.
Yeah, I don't love turkey as a fowl, as a poultry. Personally, I would much rather have. I like the dark meat, but I just find
a good
turkey
boneless
kind of
thigh.
bland. Yeah. I like the drumstick, but I find turkey just kind of bland. A couple of years ago, I had salmon for Thanksgiving.
Oh, see?
Yeah, because I'm all about the sides. Because I had cornbread and green bean casserole as well.
Yeah, see, that's more important.
You kind of need cornbread. It's kind of. I mean, I feel like that's more like a necessary item than turkey is at this point. You can't mess with a good cornbread.
Turkey's a formality, definitely. I just feel like the birds should be smaller. We don't.
Like you can come for us.
25-pound bird.
You can come for us, big turkey, but we will not relent in the face of talking about how steak and chicken are better proteins.
I'll tell you what 100%. I'm doing protein wise, or what I did yesterday. I'm making a nice spread. Genoa, sopressata. I got a Gouda. I got a goat cheese. I have some aged cheddar. I got a brie, a nice pretty neutral brie.
A nice
some
brie
fig orange spread, some whole grain mustard. I'm ready.
I can't top that, so we're just gonna move on to the next question. Abraxas ISO asks, for Thanksgiving, I have a family question for the parents, a hypothetical for any non-parents. What one game are you trying to force your kids to play?
Hades.
Oh yeah, easy. Hades. I mean, I already forced my kids to play Hades. They're only 2
No,
and 4.
I would probably if I had kids, I would probably
Well,
force them to play Bug Snacks for the existentialism.
So, Evan, you do have kids.
I do, yeah.
What's the experience been like? Because they're young. Have you like put a controller in their hands and been like, you have to tap X with the horse galloping to make it go faster?
Oh yeah, it's just kind of it's a lot of like finding all of my console controllers and just handing them the one that's not attached to whatever I'm playing to let them feel like they're playing.
So
Which
we're at
never
that
works.
stage.
They
Yeah.
always know. And they
That's
just want to
true,
do
though.
whatever you're doing. I try to make a point not to play a lot of games in front of them, though I would like them to play games. I would say like beforehand, I mean, mostly because just about like trying to spend time with them and help them learn and grow and stuff. But before I had kids, I was always like, okay, we're gonna start with NES and then Super Nintendo and Genesis. We're gonna just take them through the lineage. They're gonna learn everything they need to know about like game history. But yeah, that's not how it works. Like they gravitate to some things and not others. Like they saw Fall Guys one time and that's just like they're like, whoa, can we do that one again?
Come on, little bean people. They're like Teletubbies. Come on.
They love the dragon in Spiritfarer. If you've been playing Spiritfarer at all, they
Oh.
love helping the dragon, and stuff like that. I don't know. It's kind of random, but like, yeah, I guess in the spirit of this question, definitely everyone should be playing Hades. You should experience that. And do y'all have hypotheticals?
I'll throw them in the deep end on Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, there.
Yo,
Like 8 years old, get out there and raid. What are you
what
doing?
server?
Ultros.
Okay, all right. I'm on Crystal.
Caden, what you got? You kids playing.
legitimate answer. I'm gonna give him Pokemon. It's nice. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's something that like it's easy to pick up and it's become easier and easier to play over time. But again, if I really want to make things like super difficult, I'm gonna make him play Final Fantasy VII Remake because like that's close to my heart, and I want to just like look, watch Cloud go through a lot of shit very quickly.
Connor, do you have a game that you would force kids to play?
Yeah, obviously they would play exclusively the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Wow.
I would have them come into my
Ruthless.
office, mahogany paneled. I've got a high wing chair, and I say, "Children, what have we learned today?" That's it.
That's awesome. All right, our next question comes in from Elvis at G3323R. Very important question. How do I get friend of the show status? Also, hope you all have a great Thanksgiving, which is already over, but thank you.
It's pretty easy to be a friend of the show. Just be like a CEO or president of a major company or an extremely knowledgeable analyst that's cited regularly on the show.
Mhm.
That's kind of the base criteria for being a friend of the show in the daily. Super easy. Just do that.
Seeing as I'm actually not a part of the crew, I will say you're always a friend of the show if you believe it in your heart.
I mean,
See,
sure,
I like
yeah. If
that.
we want
I
to
like
mislead
that
them,
answer better.
yeah.
I like that.
I think everyone...
okay.
It gets cloudy because there are videos where we do the friend of the show, and sometimes they really are friends of the show.
Like friend of the show, Alana Pierce.
Oh no!
Well, that's the funny thing is most of the friends of the show are actually friends of Alana's.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Or
pretty
people she's met
honest.
at the very least. So the real graphic should just be friend of Alana's.
We stole Alana's friends. Is more like.
I think we have time for 2 more. Do you all want to do another Thanksgiving themed question, or do you want to move into real video game talk?
Let's
That's
jump
week
into
for
the
it, is
deep
it
end.
not?
Wait.
What is the deep end?
What is the deep
deep
end?
I vote
is,
Thanksgiving.
The deep end is okay. All right.
Let's do
I vote.
it's Thanksgiving week. Why wouldn't we do it?
I vote actual games journalism.
Well, we spent an
Actual
hour talking about
real
that.
video
So give me a
game
question
talk.
about food.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Here's
true.
one. We can get through. We'll do one
Connor's
of each.
correct though.
We'll get one of each. Okay. Let me find this one. Okay. Eric at Devious HK asks, "What video game character would you like to invite over for Thanksgiving dinner?"
Oh, see, this is games journalism. Okay.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, no, that's fair.
I can go
Connor?
first. I think I'm
Oh,
just
yeah,
gonna
go, yeah.
go out there because I'm excited about this question. I think I would just invite Kirby because I want to see it. Like I want to see Kirby just inhale the whole table. I would like to see that.
I
wanna
feel
see
like
it.
that's begging to die, though, right? Like is Kirby
you're-
just going to suck you in,
Nah,
And-
Kirby.
and then he'll he'll like compress, and then it'll be like Kirby with a beard.
Yeah, but what's he gonna? Kirby's gonna eat me and start a podcast? Like, come on, he's not. Just get the
He's got the mic power up for it already.
Yeah, true. Okay, true. Who else you got? Maybe Marcus Phoenix would be funny. I don't know.
I've been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, so I will say Ichiban Katsuga. He seems like such a nice guy, and considering he starts homeless, he'd probably, be happy to come by and eat dinner with me. And I'd love to be in his party.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Caden, do you have a pick?
Yeah, it's my pick every year. It's been the same pick that I've done since the 90s. Samus Aran, please come to my house. I would like to have you over. Not entirely because I've had a crush on you for the past, say 20-something years. But if you do exist and you're out there saving people in space, could you spare me a day? That'd be lovely. Thanks.
I just have a nice, maybe this isn't nice, but I just had this image of a Metroid, like on a platter, like on a turkey platter, but just like a Metroid. Maybe it's upside down. I don't
know. see again, I think Samus, like Kirby, that feels like the beginning of like a movie. Like that's Samus lands, and then all of a sudden you're on this galactic journey.
That's what I want. I want an 8-foot tall space woman to come down here and start the adventure with me. That's what I want.
Just like the first Thanksgiving. I would say the video game character I'd probably want to have over is Ronald Reagan from Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Okay, I mean, you got us on a technicality. Go ahead, Connor. Go ahead.
This just seems like a really great, fun guy. He could tell us all about his westerns and just the communities he ruined, and we could hate on commies. I think would be like an interesting thing to do. I just think it's funny that President Ronald Reagan is in a video game in 2020.
The irony is palpable.
Would fake Ronald Reagan in your house have the 3D fake character sheen on him?
Yes, he's shiny, be like, and he doesn't quite move. He's like the best the Disney animatronics team has to offer, where it's like, okay, I can see it. I see it. Yes. We need to bomb Cuba. Okay.
Uh-oh. So, all right. Well, yeah, that will make for an interesting dinner, that family dinner conversation.
Get along well with my uncles, am I right?
There it is.
There it is.
There's the punch.
We got
and then he can have the gravy first, and it'll trickle down to the rest of the table.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's not how that works. But
no, that works. It works. You just got to try it again.
If you keep doing it, eventually it'll work.
He's just drinking gravy by the cup.
You'll
get it. Don't worry.
One last question here. Michael Gray @1shadeofgray_ asks, the new current gen has now given us SSDs and the fancy haptic feedback. What do you think the next gen will do to top this one?
I don't even have a PS5 yet. I can't talk next gen.
Next gen? I feel like people are going to do the thing that they usually do, is they learned from Nintendo 2 generations ago. And they're going to try and make whatever the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are now, but they're going to be able to make it portable and make it a much more, unified experience. That, or everybody's just going to ditch consoles entirely, and we're all going to play whatever the new version of Candy Crush is going to be, and we're all going to be plugged into the Matrix, and we won't even know things anymore because our brains will be goo.
I like the part where you were alluding to Vita 3, and I really disliked the part after that. So,
tell me I'm wrong, though. How many people play mobile games this year? Just this year.
It's additive. It's additive.
It's not additive.
Yeah, people who play mobile games also.
It's a majority at this point.
Smartphones are a fad. Like television.
and radio broadcast.
There were people who, at the dawn of the iPhone, who were saying gaming on phones will never ever be anything or work at all.
And yet I'm playing Among Us, and I'm playing Genshin Impact on my phone.
Yes, but
then taking that experience on my PC. Yes, but I'm also in gaming's journalism.
No, but you also play those other AAA games or whatever else comes through, and Pokemon.
Yeah,
and Dragon
but I'm a
Quest
fucking nerd, though.
It's additive. There's room for both. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, see,
There
like
is.
I don't know what the answer, because like all of the stuff is just like rolling in stuff that's already on PC. You know,
So
ray
maybe
tracing, SSDs, but like there's nothing. The next thing of PC isn't here yet. Like in 2 years, PCs will be like, well, here's the thing that will drop. And then all the like PC hardcore people are like, see, this is why we're better. But and then like 2 years later, it'll be added to like the Series X Pro and the PS5 Pro or the Slim or whatever it is. So I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know, man. I got nothing.
Connor, do you have
Maybe a streaming, like give me the streaming app like on the Xbox. Like I want the ability, because one thing I like about Game Pass streaming is that I can be playing on a phone and it will take the save, move the save over to the game on the Xbox One. I'd like to be able to just like stream a game and then be like, okay, I think I'm gonna be into this, and have it download while I'm still streaming, and then switch over to the actual game.
That sounds cool.
So-
That sounds like a this gen thing, though. Like you're right.
You're right.
Yeah,
I think that's
something
gonna
we should
happen now.
have. Yeah. Go ahead, Connor. Any predictions for the future of gaming?
Probably holograms.
Damn it! Saving it for last. I was gonna say holograms, holographic tables.
Probably-
You know, we
probably
had the
holograms.
Holograms
HoloLens.
Yeah.
suck.
It
It's all
came
it's all
close.
bull. It's
Probably
nonsense.
holograms.
Holograms, no.
No, if you want my
I
if you
mean-
want my real prediction, I think they should have a packaged accessory that you can get that almost works like a Chromecast that streams games from the console in a different room to a different TV.
So like
Boom.
Steam Link.
Love it.
is
So
what you're
basically like Steam Link, yeah, I have like Nvidia
Yeah.
Shield TV and it's great.
Except for
my
it
PC.
works, yeah.
saying? Yeah, except for,
Yeah, I feel like a proprietary like this will just go straight from your console would be cool, but that's not really part of the box. There'll just be better boxes that do slightly
like
higher
that, though.
fidelity.
Gosh,
I like it.
I've had a major lapse in brain activity here, but the food generator in Star Trek, I think that's what we're gonna get. It's just on top of your Xbox. You're
Mhm.
like, I want
Mhm.
a snack, and it's just gonna go.
Mhm.
Psh, here's your nachos or whatever,
Mhm.
which would be a
Yes.
horrible thing to eat while playing games. But you have the technology, so they
Listen,
never.
that's why you get the third-party controller. Whoever's eating the nachos, you just give them that. The Nyko controller is like, you can use that.
Microsoft and Sony figured that they could. They never stopped to think if they should. So
If they
with
should,
that one,
yeah.
Fair point.
That's fair.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today. Where can people see more of your stuff, more of your content? I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and you just always have such a rad way of breaking things down. I think you did like a Star Wars rewatch and like retweeted or like live tweeted a big chunk of those movies, which was super fun. Like somebody asked a question like, can Spider-Man or are Spider-Man's webs edible? And you just instantly had the comic book panel and you were like, no, they're not. This is Rhino just getting its mouth full of webs and being defeated. So if you haven't followed Mike yet on Twitter, go check him out at Automatic Zen. But is there anywhere else we can see your work, Mike?
You can see me every day at pcmag.com. It's my new place. You can check some of my old stuff at usgamer.net. And occasionally on the side, I write over at Medium at Into the Discourse, which is my blog where I talk about movies and TV and all of that jazz.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Caden. Thank you, Connor. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good holiday break, everyone.